According to ASPCA.org, statistics approximately 7.6 million animal companions each year are in shelters nationwide. Can you imagine this number increasing due to breeders? Now, you may not be an animal lover, but having to deal with wild dogs and cats breeding over and over without a loving home, that hurts me. And that's why today we're going to talk about how we should be adopting our pets from shelters and not buying them from breeders. Our main points today are the problems with breeding in the United States, what it has on our lives and the lives of the animals. Then we'll be going over the solutions to these problems and why it's so important to adopt them from shelters rather than buying them from breeders. So, now that we've discussed the main points, let us go into the problems we are facing and in society today with due to breeders. So, the problem, obviously, breeding animals has led to the systematic overpopulation of our society today, and it's actually killing the animals that are in the shelters now. Um, According to ASPCA.org, it's impossible to determine how many stray dogs and cats live in the United States. Estimates around 70 million. That's ridiculous, which is double the amount of cat owned in the United States. Um, People buying, breeding end up in shelters anyway, so the bred animals end up being put into shelters even though they might have like something wrong with them or they aren't perfect. If they're not bought, then those breeders are just like throwing them away, leaving them out to dry. And according to PETA.org, purebreds make up at least 25% of the dogs in animal shelters. So if you're looking for a purebred, you might as well just go down to your local shelter. You'll probably find one there. And then breeders don't have uh, stringent standards when it comes to the animals. So when it comes to like spade, neuter, shots, they're very loose when it comes to these issues. So when it comes to things like this, uh, we now need to find a solution, right? So now that we know what happens, you might wonder, how can shelters be better? You know, well, I'll tell you how. It's how we solve the problem we're facing right now. Uh, this issue gets um, when they're in the shelter. Um, they Overpopulation in the United States will take time and funding. Obviously, like this, it won't happen overnight. But with our help, obviously, with the shelter spade and neutering them, the population will slowly decrease. Um, Given that we don't fund these breeders and have them, if they're making money, they'll continue to keep doing this. Um, those who are looking to get purebreds, like I said before, you can go to uh, shelters and you'll have a 25% chance of finding your purebred that you were looking for. Um, and with breeders, you never know the condition. Personally, I've had friends who've adopted and they had, great lives, great animals. But then I've also had people who have bought from breeders and they came home, had parvo, didn't know about it, wasn't told about it, and it ended up dying. They wasted all that money. Now they have to clean their whole house to try and to fix this issue. So what we've come to a conclusion is like it will take time, but the overpopulation of animals right now is contributed a lot to the breeders. The um, If you're wanting a purebred, you can just go down to your local shelter. They'll most likely have one. And 3, the safety and health of your animals should be number 1 when it comes to having a pet companion. And to conclude, if you take anything away from this, I hope you see the impacts and effects these shelters have in our society today, and that you can see that in your heart to avoid breeders and go for the smarter, safer, more needed choice of adopting from your local shelter. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.